Hi, I'm so pleased that you joined us today for our Building Community Check-in. I hope you had a great weekend and that you've had a good start to this week. I'm Sharon Knight from Hope Communities, which is a nonprofit that's been supporting some of the most vulnerable in Denver for 40 years with housing, programs, and support services. We've always been committed to building community and making more vibrant and stronger neighborhoods, and it's never been more important than during this pandemic period. We knew that people would feel isolated, they would need dependable information and timely information, and that they might want to understand all of the resources available to them during the pandemic. And so that's why we started these Facebook shows. We've been doing it for many months now and know that some people watch while we are launching the video and others watch it way later on. So if you see something today that you think will be valuable to others in your community, please pass that on. We'd love to have more and more people watch this information. In just a few minutes, I'm going to be introducing a guest, Amanda Pennington, from the Child Protection Ombudsman Office of Colorado, who's going to share some resources to help kids stay safe and well during these unprecedented times. For right now, though, I'm going to tell you just a teeny bit of news. We are up to 6.6 million cases of COVID across the United States and nearly 200,000 deaths. This is serious, serious stuff. The state has had 61,641 confirmed cases and nearly 2,000 deaths. So Governor Polis has extended the mask order for another month. These experts really believe that wearing masks has helped to decline the increased number of cases. And so let's really stay on top of that. We want everybody out there to be safe. The Pepsi Center COVID testing is going to cut back just a teeny bit. They're going to have the same hours at this point, but they're going to have fewer lanes of service until the end of this month. So after September, they'll be diverting to more community-based testing. So we'll still have testing throughout the city, but may not be at that location. Just a note relative to evictions, since we are providing housing, the order to stop evictions for people who cannot pay because they've been affected by COVID has been extended. I just want to make sure that people understand that this does not protect people who have not been affected by COVID, and it doesn't mean that the obligation for the rent or late fees will go away. And so just a note of caution that for people who may believe they don't have to pay rent, please pay as much as you can, and please work with your property managers to work out a payment plan if that is helpful for you. You don't want to get to the end of this pandemic and have a huge debt that you won't be able to handle. We want you to have that strong economic stability in the future, and having a bad credit score is not going to help with that. So I like to offer a quote for all of my sessions, and today this is by E.E. Cummings. Once we believe in ourselves, we can risk curiosity, wonder, spontaneous delight, or any experience that reveals the human spirit. And now on to a little bit more serious note. I'm going to introduce Amanda Pennington. As I said, she is the Director of Client Services for the Child Protection Ombudsman Office of Colorado. And that office is tasked with ensuring that the very complex system of child protection in Colorado is working effectively, and that every office across the state provides consistent, high-quality services to every child, family, and community. Thanks so much for joining us today, Amanda. So yours is such an important mission and certainly a big, big job. Would you please provide a little bit more detail about the work of your office?
Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today. The Office of Colorado's Child Protection Ombudsman, more casually known as the CPO, is an independent agency that works on behalf of Colorado's children, youth, and families. And what that means is that we sit outside of county and state human services departments to work with those that are directly involved with the child protection system to listen to their concerns and determine the best way to resolve those concerns.
Well, how would the average person really benefit from your services in your office?
Yeah, really what we are here to do is to help those involved in the system navigate the system. Like you mentioned, it's very complex, and sometimes it requires some additional help or education just simply going through the system. And so all of our services are free and confidential to anybody concerned. So that could be a relative outside of Colorado calling us about a foster child that's in the system with concerns, parents looking for other resources, or even legal advocates looking for guidance, not guidance, but some information as well.
Mm-hmm.
All of our services can be initiated by a phone call or our website. We take calls into the office on our normal business hours. So we are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. However, our online portal for complaints can be accessed 24/7.
Mm-hmm. So whether that's an individual or an agency like ours, we can reach out. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you will see there is a youth complaint form and an adult complaint form. So you would just choose your role, and it really walks you through that process on the website.
Well, what are the typical types of issues that you typically see, that you generally see?
Yeah, so our office has a very wide reaching jurisdiction over the child protection system. And so we can address issues related directly to child welfare, juvenile justice, but also law enforcement, education, and treatment providers. And so our typical issues that we work with are problem solving and working towards resolution related to specific concerns. We hear a lot from parents and relatives who have questions about the system and are looking for information and resources, or have questions about what to expect or where their kind of case is at stage wise. And so we also hear from youth and legal advocates or juvenile justice advocates within that system regarding youth experiences and working towards system improvement in that area as well.
Mm-hmm. I know the state's been really trying to work on youth systems for the last few years. So great, thank you so much for your help with that. Are there? You said you make a confidential report, but if someone like us, if I reported an issue, would I be identified to the family or to the agency that I reported?
No, so our office is held to the same confidentiality standards as human services departments, which means we will not, under any circumstances, release the identity of anyone unless you give us permission.
Okay, okay. Have you seen any new trends or issues during the pandemic that we should be aware of?
Initially, what we noticed, and the pandemic first became as large of an issue as it was, we noticed that each agency had to work quickly to adapt. And so through our work, we learned that every county and jurisdiction really dealt with a very unique set of circumstances to mobilize and adapt for their communities. Many of these programs were able to quickly adapt to ensure that they were meeting the needs of their communities in very different ways. So this includes the state access to pandemic financial assistance, educational systems transitioning from in-person to remote learning, and then court jurisdictions mobilizing to virtual technology.
Yeah, everything's been shaken up with this pandemic and with a lot of the remote work. So I'm sure it's really thrown all of those agencies into a kind of a tizzy. And how do we figure out how to deal with everybody? Yeah, yeah, it's tough stuff. Well, it also, I mean, you mentioned the school system, and it strikes me that oftentimes critical issues related to abuse or neglect or other serious concerns are often first seen and reported by teachers. And with the lack of the school involvement, direct school involvement, it seems like it might hinder the ability to spot some of those issues. I'm sure you've been thinking about this. What are any of the things that have come up to you that we should be aware of, or should other people be taking a more serious look at the kids around them?
I think it's a great question, Sharon. Absolutely, and a school is a little bit different now, but it is back in session. And so we do have teachers back in that mandated reporter role than they were, maybe through April and May as the school year ended. And so one of the ways that we have worked to help problem solve in this area is we participated in developing with other agencies a toolkit for educators that provides really valuable information and resources on how typical mandated reporters can shift their duties during COVID. I'll include this resource page as well, but the toolkit includes signs of child abuse and neglect, and also offers a great deal of resources for educators in both age groups, K through 5, and then 6th through 12th grade levels to engage with students remotely and in person. And one of the things in there, there's a really great comprehensive list of alternative ways that children could be engaged. So sending postcards or playing an icebreaker game instead of, a normal morning check-in, or they offer different questions that may allow teachers to get a different picture of what's going on in the home during this time.
Wow, complicated.
Very. And so what we also did, to kind of mobilize and adapt is, we are taking extra caution and listening and understanding to our callers' concerns. We are also mandated reporters, and so we will continue to report, of course, any suspected child abuse or neglect. And then we are also prioritizing our outreach efforts over the next year. And this includes us reaching out directly to youth involved in the system, both in out-of-home placements through foster care and juvenile justice placements. And so this is to help us understand their experiences and work towards any areas that may need improved. And then we'll also be reaching out to parent-centered groups and other advocate groups to listen to their concerns as well.
So listening sessions across the whole state?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. So the toolkit sounds really great in terms of having lots of activities and lots of prompts and things like that. Do you also ever do any training or are you involved with groups that will train the teachers to spot things like that?
We are not, our agency, not specifically in direct training. Like I said, we kind of collaborate in development of some of these programs. However, there is, and I can provide this resource as well, there is a free mandated reporter training available online for anybody who wants to take the class or needs a refresher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our resource navigators are mandatory reporters too. So we've taken that class. I know it's really helpful to take that. So there's lots of evidence that points to the fact that when families are under a lot of stress, when there's lack of income, lack of basic needs, that there can be more abuse in the household. And so while, we all hate to think that it might be necessary, are there some things that friends and neighbors should be watchful for that might indicate that a child is in danger?
Yeah, I think that there are, definite signs for potential risk or increased risk for a child, that could create a dangerous situation for children and youth. There are some signs that anyone could look for, right? So watching for changes in the child's behavior, their kind of normal attitude versus if they're acting differently now, and also direct cries of abuse or neglect, right? If children's talking about not having the things that they need, or being physically abused or concerned for their own safety in their home setting. I mean, that's definitely one. As far as school, and now that we're back in session and learning settings look differently, they can be vigilant about watching for changes in how the child participates in the class setting, or even in their physical appearance. This could be change in weight, change in hygiene patterns, or visible injuries that don't really fit in with what this child's normal developmental stage is. Mm-hmm. A decreased kind of appetite for learning could also be concerning. Another thing that could could be a concern would be a lack of supervision, or even just asking those questions. Does it appear that the child is being supervised or taken care of throughout the day? Right? Family situations look a little bit different now. And so that's one way that you could offer those open-ended questions to learn more about what's going on in the home. Another sign that there could be concern would be just the environment that you have access to when you are, kind of peering into the child's life. Unsanitary living conditions, accessible weapons, or evidence of substance use in their home.
Well, and I think for people who live at Hope Communities, if kids are in distress, they can certainly go to our program staff as well. And that sometimes our property managers and some of the other staff notice things. And so we not only are mandatory reporters externally, but we report to each other so that we can check on families and do well checks all the time. It's really important, especially during this time, that kids know that they have somebody they can count on who's in their corner. So we try to do that too. We're not a substitute for reporting, but we can help to get thoughts together. We can help to make sure there's specific needs met right away and things like that. So we can be part of the team to help solve the issue. So are there some other back to school things that families or groups might be thinking of? I know you're looking holistically at kids and systems, and what else might you offer to us?
Yeah, I think that the key to feeling supported during this time is staying connected. And that really means kind of accessing the resources available to you. So if a family is in need of assistance or questioning whether they would be eligible for assistance, that could be also accessing resources to mental health issues, food insecurity, parental support. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's a lot of local and state resources that are available and absolutely willing to provide assistance. There are also many new resources available to children, youth, and families as a result of the pandemic. And it is really helpful for families to stay informed and connected. So another way to make sure that you're getting accurate information and timely information is to sign up for your local public health notifications, your Department of Human Services pages as well. And then, of course, reach out to family and friends and your kind of networks that you naturally have, or your village, so to speak.
Yeah. Important to have that village.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you had mentioned, not just mandated reporters can make a call, right? Anybody can make a report to the hotline. And so, if you have that concern or that question in your gut, I mean, you can always just make the call, and they'll make the decision after that.
And sometimes you do feel it in your gut, don't you? You just have this knot in your stomach. You think something is not right here.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to let us know before we end?
I just want to thank you, of course, and that we are happy to provide assistance to anyone needing support or help. And we look forward to working with everybody.
Great. Thanks so much for being here. It's really great to have you be part of the show. So as part of every Facebook Live event, we also share a book review from a member of our community or staff or a volunteer. And we just know that people are reading a lot more lately. They're in the house more. So we want you to have a really good book list. And we try to find books that are available at the public library so that you don't have to go out and that you don't have to make a purchase if that is something that's concerning to you. And always I'm looking for people to review books. So if you want to review a book for me, please email me at info@hopecommunities.org and I'll follow up with you. Today's review is going to be offered to us by Carla Rains. We'll be posting her video review in just a couple of minutes. And Carla is offering a review of the book called The Art of Rivalry: 4 Friendships, Betrayals, and Breakthroughs in Modern Art. And that was written by Sebastian Smee. It focuses on the rivalry between world-class artists that we've all heard of. It follows relationships of 4 different artists showing their friendship, their admiration for each other, their envy for each other, and their personal ambition. all of those things that drive them to be great artists. So there's relationships like Manet and Degas, Matisse and Picasso. So again, names that we've heard. It sounds like a really interesting book, and I hope that you will watch Carla's review. It is available at the Denver Public Library in hard copy, and it's also available for download. We will post the link for you for that download. That's our show for today. We will be back on Tuesday, and we hope that you will join us then. If you need some help, if you need some navigation or resources, please email us at info@hopecommunities.org. And there's lots of things available for you to peruse on our website as well, hopecommunities.org. Have a great week. Hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye, and thanks, Amanda.